You scroll Twitter, people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk are hated. How can you hate Elon Musk? In any real country, he'd be Lord. We all want King Trump, and maybe this is why they call me a Mossad agent now.
My name is Joshua and I'm 19 years old and I reverted to Islam 2 years ago, alhamdulillah.
Did you know if you teach a revert like me how to pray Salah,
you get the reward every single time I pray.
Every time I wake up for Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib and Isha,
you get the reward.
But have you ever thought about who teaches a revert's children how to pray?
The reverts, of course.
And you keep getting the reward for generations.
Donate now and help 10 reverts.
Learn Salah for just £100.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. If you're watching this video and it's Salah time, please pause it and go pray and come back when you're done. Please check out the description section of this video to support the channel and to donate to Salah Plus so we can help reverts learn how to pray this Ramadan. Andrew Tate seems like he's going all out this Ramadan in terms of how much he can make a mockery of Islam and his fellow Muslims. This time it was on the Hodge Twins show where he pledged allegiance to his idols Donald Trump and Elon Musk, making excuses for their anti-Muslim stances and even hailing them as heroes. Andrew Tate is in no way, shape or form an expert on Islam, nor is he important in the grand scheme of things. But when he goes on podcasts saying he's Muslim and not only horribly misrepresents our faith, but also aligns with people who openly oppose Islam as a religion, then he has to be refuted. Let's watch the first clip.
What religion you practice?
That's a good question. I'm a Muslim. My brother is Christian.
Because that's beautiful. He's Christian, you're Muslim. Why is there so much of a disconnect between Christians and Muslims? I never got that. Fox News.
Yeah.
That's who demonized the Muslims.
Yeah. I think that's a huge part of it, especially like 9/11, and they put a huge spin on it. There's also a huge disconnect where people assume or they attribute Islam to the third world. So like a third worlder will do something and they'll say, see these Muslims, etc. But if you let in a third worlder from anywhere, he'll do something. You can let in a third worlder from Guatemala or the Central African Republic. They're not Islamic and they can commit a crime. Candace said to me, who I'm a huge fan of, I truly think she's amazing in the work she does. But she said to me, she said on October 9th, when I defended Palestine to Piers Morgan, that's when all the conservatives turned on me. She said viscerally, I saw it the same day you defended Palestine. It's the day they all came for me. I was like, yeah, maybe it is that. Perhaps they do have some power.
There's a drop in our views too, since we've been criticizing.
Oh yeah, they'll just start to slowly shadow ban you and they'll come after you, etc. I get called Mossad. Have you guys been called Mossad yet?
No, just straight Jew haters.
All right, well, you're doing good. Because I've had that team turn on me.
Right.
Yeah, because you're never based enough for the Anon account on Twitter who has nothing to lose, right? So you can mention certain things, you can bring certain things up, but if you're not 1000% mentioning it all the time or it's all you talk about, then they turn on you and call you a Mossad agent. So supposedly I work for the Jews now, funnily enough, even though I literally risked my life defending Palestine on Piers Morgan and got in a whole bunch of trouble for it. But then they asked me something else and I must not have answered the way they wanted, and then they went crazy. Yes, I agree. There's a huge problem with Israeli influence over the American government. I agree.
Zionism.
There is a huge problem with it. There's no doubt about it. But
I think our conservatives and Republicans, we are pro-life Christian. What's happening in Gaza is not pro-life and it's definitely not Christian. I don't know why we're in bed with Israel and then we fund that war. They call it a war, but those people don't have weapons. They don't have an army. I mean, they have some weapons. I mean, it's like a little posse.
It's not a fair fight.
It's not a fair fight at all.
It's not a fair fight.
When I look at the drone footage, it looks apocalyptic.
It truly looks apocalyptic and it's extremely sad. And also I find it amazing that, like, if you're a nationalist or you're a conservative and you believe in the rights to your land and you believe in America being America and you want to protect your land, then you should understand that other people want to protect their land.
Exactly. We push back on illegal immigration. What's going on in Israel? Yeah, but they say Palestine never existed. That's what I hear all the time on social media, especially on Instagram from conservatives. That place never existed.
They're ignorant to it all, and it's a long and complicated history. But even if you don't want to go down the entire history of Palestine, Israel, this is what I was saying to Piers, because he doesn't even let you talk. I was like, I haven't got time to explain history to you, but exactly like you said, this is clearly a genocide. What's happening is clearly completely inhuman. Forget religion, forget any of these things. It's inhuman what they're doing to these people. It's unacceptable what they're doing to these people. And it's also the media spin they put on it tells you a lot, because when Hamas try and fight back, it's a terror attack and it's barbaric. And when Israel fight back, it's a tactical strike. Oh, tactical strike. That actually almost sounds like it's okay. Have you ever seen the result of a tactical strike? Because all I see is
drone footage.
I see buildings crushing children when we call it a tactical strike. So again, it's all about the language they use and how they frame everything. The few things I've said that's pissed off the conservatives. One was defending Palestine, pissed the conservatives off.
That's the pro-Christian thing to do.
Well, thank you very much, sir. I mean, I think it's just a humanist thing to do. Anyone who's a human.
Fox News is programmed to hate Muslims. They've been demonized ever since 9/11. So, and it's not a coincidence that Fox News is run by a Jew.
Well, there you go.
It's not a coincidence why they're after you. You being Muslim.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think the prosecutor was after me in Florida as a Jew. And what's funny is, although I've talked against Zionism and I've talked about the obviously barbaric and heinous actions in Palestine, I've often attacked the Jew-hating crowd too. I've said that some of these Jew haters take it way too far because these Jew haters will say the Jews control everything. And I'll say, okay, yeah, the Jews control everything. And there's nothing you can say where they don't attribute to Jews. So I've attacked the Jew hating crowd too. So now, unfortunately, I'm in between. The Jews hate me and the Jew haters hate me, so everyone hates me.
The Hodge twins seemed more genuinely sympathetic towards Muslims than Tate did. There's just no loyalty or sense of community or show of unification from Andrew to the Ummah. It's as if he doesn't see himself as one of us. But I will give him credit for at least saying that not all crimes in the West involving migrants are linked to Islam. As far as his theory that the conservative crowd turned on him for being pro-Palestine, I mean, it's very possible, as there are a lot of pro-Israeli weirdos in that space. But it could also be because he openly says he's Muslim, as the Hodge twins suggested. Even the twins themselves acknowledged a dip in their analytics in supporting the Palestinian cause, which is just par for the course on these Zio-run platforms. Tate claimed that he gets called Mossad and questioned the twins on whether they do too, to which they replied they don't. I'll tell you why that is. It's because the twins stick to what they believe in and don't flip-flop like Andrew, who changes his opinion depending on who he's being interviewed by or what's trending so he can capitalise on growing his audience. Tate falsely claimed the pro-Palestinian side turned on him for not constantly speaking about the oppression going on over there, which is a flat-out lie. It's actually because Tate has publicly aligned himself with major pro-Israel figures like Trump, Elon, and even Tommy Robinson over the past year, and hence has been met with backlash. Andrew also stated that he risked his life defending Palestine on Piers Morgan, as if he did people a favour by standing up against kids being wiped out. And risked his life how exactly? He's just being a drama queen here to cover up for making stupid statements online and for totally contradicting himself to the point where he was called out for being a sellout. And again, I will give credit to Tate for saying the Israeli influence over the US government is problematic, and for breaking down why Palestinians have a right to defend their land, as well as for calling out how the media justify Zionist war crimes, and also for acknowledging that the people of Palestine have suffered an inhumane and unacceptable genocide at the hands of Israel. But then to turn around and accuse everyone on the pro-Palestine side of hating Jewish people is just out of line. People calling Tate out for siding with Zionist nutcases does not make them anti-Jewish. Tate is once again conflating the two to cover up his own deceitful duplicity online, where he was scolded for trying to gain a far-right audience alongside his Muslim audience. Let's watch the next clip where he makes excuses for Donald Trump and Elon Musk despite their pro-Israel and at times anti-Islam stances.
It's truly incredible.
Did you see that video that Trump posted? Can you pull up that video? You put up an AI meme of Trump's Gaza. Yeah, like Trump's stance on Gaza, like turned into like this oasis for the Jews. I was like, dude, that is tone deaf.
And maybe this is why they call me a Mossad agent now, but I give Trump the benefit of the doubt that at least he stopped the killing for now. At least. That's stage one, right? It's everything's incremental. Is Gaza ever gonna look like that? No. We all know that's never gonna happen. Yeah. But he stopped the killing at least at the beginning, which I think is the best thing. Yeah. If Kamala had won, which you would argue are supposed to be the left and the pro-Palestine, etc., the killing would still be going on. Because Kamala, there's no way Kamala would stand up against the deep state and the warmongers. All the left and all the liberals and all the pro-Palestine guys, which even though I'm completely right and conservative, somehow you align with the left on that issue, they wanted Kamala to win because they thought that Gaza would have been in a better position. But I would argue right now, if Kamala won, that Gaza would still be killing. And Israel would still be killing. She wouldn't have done a thing. So at least Trump stopped it. Is that video tone deaf? Yes. But then also, again, I'm a benefit of the doubt guy. I kind of am a benefit of the doubt guy. I kind of think, Trump's doing amazing things. He's doing his best. Isn't it possible that like Trump, busy, he's on Air Force One, he's 78, and one of his aides go, hey, we've got video of the new Gaza. It's going to be like a resort. We're going to put it up on your Twitter. Yeah. And he's, maybe, maybe. Did he design it frame for frame? Right. Well, probably not. I don't know. Is it tone deaf? Yes. But I'm just glad the babies have stopped dying because those videos were truly heartbreaking. Right. Truly heartbreaking. Back then when that stuff was, when that stuff was going on, there was a cloud of darkness in the air. I couldn't smile for a while. It was truly sad what was happening. We all want King Trump. We all do.
Hey, have you ever met Trump? You haven't met him, have you?
I've not met Trump yet. And one of the things I want to make clear is that I'm worried about meeting Trump because I don't want them to use me against him. Because they would. Even though I've done nothing wrong, I've not been convicted. I'm such a Trump fan that I would hate the idea of meeting him because I genuinely believe he's a fantastic president and them attacking him via him just simply shaking my hand. That would actually upset me a bit. Yeah. But also Trump's he's built different. Right. So if he doesn't give a single I'd love to meet him. But I'm aware if he were to say I would get it. I would get why he'd be hesitant, perhaps. I don't know. But maybe he's just at the point where he doesn't give a shit what these idiots say. I like to believe so. It was Trump's State of the Union. When I saw his State of the Union and I saw them holding up the signs like, Elon pay his taxes. And I was watching the State of the Union and I said, in no sensible country on earth could Donald Trump be standing up there telling the truth and some be in the same room heckling him. Yeah. Like, what kind of country even is this now? Yeah. In any real country, in any sensible country, truthfully, if you had the richest man on earth who was in charge of innovating probably the most disruptive technologies on earth, in any real country, of course he'd be in government. He'd probably be the president. He'd probably be in charge of absolutely everything. In any real country, he'd be Lord. You scroll Twitter, people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk are hated. How can you hate Elon Musk? Elon bought Twitter. He lets you have an account. He lets you speak freely, and you turn on him. Like when Elon was getting all that hate over the H-1B1 visas, remember what he said about letting in Indian people, all the H-1B1. I personally disagree with him. But when I saw everyone attack him, I was just like, even though I personally disagree with him, I don't know how you were raised. I just feel like it's his platform and you should just talk a little bit nicer. And he's graceful enough to let you do it. He's a better man than me. I'll just block. Yeah. Ban. In general, Trump, Elon, these are heroes. And the fact that they're not talked about the same way George Washington is in America is sad. They deserve in their lifetimes to be treated like heroes, not only when they're gone. I think they're really saving the world.
The Hodge Twins, who supported Trump in the previous US election, called Trump's plans for Gaza tone deaf. Other Trump supporters like Candace Owens have also called out the US president for his spineless Israel first stance, but Tate doesn't seem to have the guts to do so. And notice how he admitted his support for Trump is why he's being labelled a Mossad agent, unlike in the first clip where he falsely claimed it was because he hasn't spoken about Palestine enough. The way this guy contradicts himself with his lies is just embarrassing. Tate made excuses for Trump by creating a hypothetical scenario where someone as calculated as Trump would just repost something as polarizing as the Trump Gaza video by mistake. Even if we go with Tate's ridiculous defense for a second, prior to that video, Trump did say in his own words that he plans to take over Gaza.
The US will take over the Gaza Strip. We'll own it.
So again, Tate is making a fool of himself by trying to be Trump's little PR rep. And as far as Andrew's claim that Trump has stopped the killing in Gaza, Trump has in fact allowed bombs weighing 2,000 pounds to go to Israel, the size of explosives that his predecessor and fellow warmonger Joe Biden had previously blocked being sent due to the devastation they would cause. Add that to the fact that Trump is also sending billions of dollars to Israel, the same as the previous president did. And it doesn't look like Trump has the intention of stopping the killing as Tate claimed. In fact, since the so-called ceasefire came into play from when Trump took office in 2025, has been breached by Israel numerous times, with phase 1 of the deal being extended by Trump so that Israeli troops can stay in Gaza and not completely withdraw as was agreed upon when phase 2 would start. And during this fake ceasefire that Tate is applauding Trump for, the US president has allowed Israel to stop food supplies going into Gaza so the people there starve during Ramadan, as well as cutting off the electricity supply for Palestinian civilians to force their government to allow Israeli troops to stay in Gaza, all since Trump took office. This is what Tate is defending. Andrew also claimed that the pro-Palestinian side is the leftist liberal side and the pro-Kamala side, which is false. There are pro-Palestine voices on both the left and the right, and as far as Muslims go, even though we are naturally more conservative due to our religion, we don't align with either of these useless political ideologies. In fact, the majority of Muslims didn't want to vote for Trump or Kamala as they're both pro-Israel shills. If anything, some Muslims even had hopes that Trump would reverse some of the damage done by Biden, which from what I just showed you is not going to happen and may even get worse than before. I'm trying to be as fair as possible, and I do believe Andrew when he said he felt saddened by Palestinian children being killed. I think anyone with an ounce of humanity would feel the same, and I also acknowledge that he has given in charity to the Palestinians. But his blind support for Trump and Elon, who aid in the destruction of Gaza and does any if not all of his previous good deeds. I find it quite strange how a grown man can be such a fanboy of other grown men. Andrew really does look up to Donald Trump and Elon Musk as if they are his superiors. So much so he comes across as an obsessed teenage girl speaking about her favourite boy band when he talks about them. Andrew even labelled Elon Musk Lord and called both him and Donald Trump heroes on par with George Washington. He also posed the question, how can someone dislike Elon Musk? I would counter that with how can anyone like Elon, especially with the amount of Islamophobic propaganda he has spewed over the last year on issues involving Israel and immigration. In fact, Musk is the main instigator when it comes to making this carefully framed anti-Muslim misinformation go viral. And as far as Tate's claim that Elon allows people to speak freely on his platform, this is also false, as Musk has actively banned and demonetized several accounts, some of whom are friendly with Tate, for calling Elon out on his foolishness. Let's watch the next clip where Andrew Tate champions non-Muslim and white-only immigration to the West. You can't make this stuff up.
We talk about this with Islam and Christianity, and this is a sensitive topic, but I get this a lot, and they say, you know, the Christians are being replaced in England and all the Muslims are taking control and the Muslims are praying outside the Christian churches and I say, yeah, that's completely disrespectful. I disagree with that personally as a Muslim, but if Christians are not going to resist in any way, if you're just going to sit there and bend and roll over, you know, I'm not even saying we're enemies. I'm saying if you have an ideology and you won't defend it, if you're going to allow France during the Olympic ceremony to mock Jesus Christ, like how long are you going to let yourself be mocked? If you're not going to ever stick up for anything, you're going to be crushed. And this is the situation we're in now because you have all these competing power dynamics. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting how it all plays out into the future, but it actually makes me very sad. The white side of me is quite sad when I see these insane white people begging for white human decimation. Like white girls are hot. We need them. And this is bull. Like, but they're just desperate to go extinct for some reason. I don't know why.
People call that white guilt.
If I was Trump or if I was in charge of America, I'd say we're going to offer green cards or residency to any white ethnically European person who is tired of their government and wants to start again in America because that's what built America in the first place. And I think that would give it a resurgence. And I guarantee you get 40 to 50 million hardworking white European ancestry people turning up here. I think that'd be a fantastic thing for America and to teach Europe a lesson. Every rich person in England's trying to leave because all of European nations are losing their rich and they're all running away. What's interesting is, guess where they're running to? They're running to Arab nations. They're running to Dubai. Wow. So it's actually funny. It's
With
funny.
the crazy Muslims.
Well, this is the thing, right? They'll complain about Muslims at home and then they'll go and want to live in Dubai, which is an Islamic country. The problem is not Islam. The problem is that it's a bunch of third world idiots that we're letting in, which are not integrated. Do you think Dubai puts up with bullshit from Islamic extremists? Right. Do you think Dubai puts up with bullshit from third world idiots who want to commit crime? No. Right. They'll chop your head off. Right. So it's not Islam, because the Islamic nations have a stricter punishment for most of these crimes than in Europe. All these Islamic attacks in Europe, what happens to the perpetrator? He goes and sits in a room and eats 3 square meals a day. Why don't they do it in Dubai? Right. Because of the consequence, right? Did you ever see the Dubai foreign minister talk about this? You should look up that clip. The Dubai foreign minister said that you're going to have most of the Islamic extremism coming from Europe because they think they know Islam better than we do. So the problem is not Islam anyway. The problem is this third worldism and this insanity that we have. If you allow in 10 million women, they're going to integrate with society because they're going to get knocked up. And their children are going to be half. But that's it. If you really believe in immigration so deeply, then let all the women in. Women only. Let women in only. Make there to be 2 times as many women as men. Let men off the leash. And let's make Americans. Done. Instead, they let in military-age males. Which is the problem. Because if men turn up to a society and they can't get a job and they can't get paid and they're standing around in groups with their friends all day, how long is it until they commit crime? And I'm talking from the European perspective more than the American, because I understand that more. But you let in a bunch of Syrians to England, they don't speak English. Who's going to hire these people? Nobody.
They let a bunch of Africans into Europe.
Yeah, just the boats are just arriving and they're living off the taxpayer. And who's paying the taxes? The white guy.
Here we go again with Andrew pushing the same old Muslims are replacing Christians in the West nonsense. The fact is that the Muslim population in Europe amounts to around 6%. In America, it's around 1%. And in places like Australia and New Zealand, it's also around 1%, meaning the West is over 90% non-Muslim. So how exactly are Muslims taking over? All Andrew is doing here is borrowing far-right fear-mongering garbage from the likes of Tommy Robinson to increase his following with the objective to make money from the ignorant people who are easily led by these false claims due to already being inherently prejudiced against Muslims and people of colour. And as far as Andrew's claim, he thinks it's disrespectful that Muslims are praying in front of Christian churches. Firstly, I've never seen Muslims band together to make a display of praying in front of churches with the intention of disrespecting Christianity. When it's prayer time, we just pray. You should try it sometime, Andrew. And secondly, as a Muslim, why is Tate always so offended on behalf of Christians? Is it because secretly he is a Christian? If there was any doubt to how shallow this man is, it was dispelled for me when he said the white side of him wants the white race to continue because white girls are hot, as he put it. If he said white people are human beings with their own history and culture, then that is a fair point, but to put it down to lust just shows where his head's at. Andrew then stated that US immigration should be strictly limited to white Europeans. Not all Europeans, only white Europeans. And if any minority should be let in, it should only be women so that they can be impregnated with the aim of making more Americans. Number 1, this is straight up racist and sexist. Number 2, under his contradictory logic, Tate himself would not be allowed to immigrate to the States because he's mixed race. And number 3, you do realise that the Americans you would create via impregnating all these ethnic women would be majority brown and would therefore dilute the white race. So please think before you speak, you absolute idiot. Andrew then made the point that Westerners are immigrating to the UAE, which we as Muslims don't have a problem with because we're not small-minded, insecure bigots like the far-right crowd he's trying to get on side. Tate said Islam is not the problem, third worlders are, and that Islamic countries have stricter punishments in place for extremism and rape. He is somewhat correct here. Yes, Muslim countries have stricter punishments in place due to Islamic law, and secular Western nations don't because of a lack of Islamic law. So which one is it, Andrew? I thought you were against the West adopting Islamic law. You can't have it both ways. And Muslim countries are not just tough on people from the third world who display criminal conduct. This extends to people from the West also, hence why everyone stays in line, including the Westerners. The fact is, the majority of crimes in Western nations are committed by Westerners, most of whom are white. And as far as Tate making the same claims as he did on the PBD podcast by quoting UAE politicians who also bow to Israel, it's clear the majority of the Muslims in Europe know Islam much better than the shady politicians in the UAE, which is evident from how the UAE as a country promote many un-Islamic things with the sole aim to make money and increase tourism. Let's watch the final clip where Andrew Tate calls out Ben Shapiro for being pro-Israel in the exact same way Trump and Elon are, yet Tate scolds Shapiro for the same things he defends Musk and Trump for.
Andrew, what's that beef between you and Ben Shapiro?
Oh, there's no beef with me and Ben. There's no beef with me and Ben. I don't think he's a particularly good person. I think he's a warmonger. Yeah. It's never ending.
Especially if you support what's going on in Gaza. Right?
Oh yeah, his stances on Gaza were unforgivable. He is currently going broke because he lost Candace and he lost Brett Cooper, and now the Daily Wire is going into. I've heard from many sources they're about to go into administration and they have problems with Peterson. Even Peterson and him are about to a legal battle.
Oh, wow.
Daily Wire,
really?
Yeah, Daily Wire is completely bankrupt.
It all started with Candace.
Yeah, of course, you can't get rid of her.
Yeah.
She was their star. And then Who's the owner of the Daily Wire? He's a really interesting person. Yeah, what's his name? Jeremy Boring. Yeah, Mr. Boring. I'm gonna start a media company.
Right.
But Mr. Boring's media company gonna be a success. So you know that tip.
Yeah.
I think Ben's a bad person, and he's also a warmonger. You know, I guess it's just somebody. I mean, I've had 87 professional fights. I've done my whole fighting my whole life. I finished retiring from fighting, and now I'm fighting against governments all across the world. I've done all of my fighting myself. And when I see somebody sitting behind a desk with a microphone calling for other people to go fight, when he's too much of a pussy to ever fight himself, I intrinsically just don't like him. And he's constantly calling for men twice his size to go and die. You go.
Yeah.
You go fight. He's a fucking snake. So I don't trust him. Yeah. And I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. And I also think that
it sounds like y'all got a beef.
But the actual important issues, it seems he's wrong every fucking time.
Yeah. And you would think he like I see him doing videos like criticizing the LGBTQ community, trans community, but in his religion they embrace that.
The Talmud is supposed to have 8 genders, isn't it?
Exactly. So why are you on YouTube and TikTok and doing all these videos criticizing, going viral for speaking out against these people when your religion embraces it?
Well, even then, even from a personal perspective, he has a huge problem with me because 12 years ago I used to have a webcam studio, which I've talked about at length and explained at length, and I'll talk about again anytime because it's my history and I'm not apologizing for anything I've ever done ever. While he's still getting paid from APAC, which takes money from OnlyFans today.
Yeah. It's
so like he pretends he gives a about these things, but he's actually just super hypocritical. And I just don't like hypocrites. I don't like people who are warmongering. After October 7th, when he was saying destroy them all, kill them all, annihilate every single one, I tweeted underneath him like, bro, let's at least look for peace at least.
Right.
It's just a mark of a coward. He's one of them who's never seen violence, never been around it, would never go near it, would piss his pants if he ever had to. Total coward, trying to talk like a tough guy, calling for violence. If he'd ever seen any, he'd know better. But he's not educated to it. So I just think he's a negative voice in the world who's calling for death and destruction. And thank his voice is going broke. And him and Mr. Boring are about to lose the Daily Wire. Travel America, try and find somebody who's giving them money right now. You must make your mind. Who gives a shit what they say? You can't pay me to watch their shit. I don't even know what he says anymore. The last time I spoke to him was about October 7th.
I actually agree with everything Andrew Tate said about Ben Shapiro. But isn't it hypocritical of Tate to call Shapiro an APAC warmonger, but yet he defends Elon Musk and Donald Trump, who are exactly the same? In fact, Donald Trump has taken more money from APAC than Ben Shapiro, and censorship on Elon Musk's platform X is also dictated by Israeli lobbyists, just like it is for Shapiro's Daily Wire outlet. So where is Andrew's condemnation for his idols who are no better than Ben Shapiro? Add that to the fact that Tate has never even met Donald Trump and Elon Musk in person, yet Ben Shapiro chaperoned them around Europe and Israel to meet their Zionist masters. This selective disapproval makes Andrew come across as a complete hypocrite. Again, I agree Ben Shapiro is an ill-intentioned Zionist scammer, but so are Musk and Trump, and the fact that Tate can't call that out makes him just as cowardly as Ben Shapiro. Everybody's faith is their own personal journey, but people who have no idea what they're talking about should not comment on Islam or Muslims. Andrew Tate's aim is to latch onto Trump and Musk so they accept him in their circle, even if that means totally contradicting himself in the process. And in this endless quest for status, he's not only making a mockery of himself, he's also making a mockery of Muslims, and we won't stand for it. Thank you for watching. Make sure to join my free Telegram group via the link in the description, where we as Muslims can speak freely and without censorship about issues like this. And remember to like, subscribe and become a channel member for access to exclusive content. Until next time, inshallah, Jazakallah khair.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah.